buffet anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Here we go with episode 1861, 1861. I'm your host, Mike Matthews, and the name of this show is
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's a podcast that I've been doing a long time. Hey, look, it's kind of overcast. Today, it's Father's Day, and for your father, say, hey, thanks for being my dad. That is, if he was a good dad. If he wasn't, then just blow it off. Father's Day. I've always been more partial to Mother's Day because
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Mom is cool. Dad was cool too. I guess you just gotta be with
Mike's
your life.
Daily.
Do the best you can.
Podcast.
We're dealt with some cards, aren't we?
Yeah.
Some odd cards in this life. Maybe you have an odd dad or an odd mom, and you were like, that wasn't really the best parent. So we look for other mentors in our lives, don't we? To help us through. And that's important. I know this one guy who always talks about his dad and about how his dad psychologically undermined him, kind of like Elton John's dad. I don't know if you've seen Rocket Man, but he got through it because a friend of his had a father that sort of took him under his wing, and that helped him out a lot. Hey, speaking of odd things, Uber, I hate Uber in every sense of the word. I hate it. Well, my lovely lady friend loves it. She uses it all the time. She'd rather use that than BART. I'm a fan of BART. No, I mean, not I'm a fan. I use BART. I'm not a fan. There's lots to hate about BART. I've talked about this on my podcast over the years. The fact that it's late a lot, that it has these weird delays, that people... BART does... It's the people that get on BART sometimes that make it even worse. They don't have any respect for this public transit system. They're entitled. They feel like they can rip the cushions out of the seats and do all kinds of weird things.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Sleep in the seat in the back row. That's what this picture is today. No, it's not. So BART is what I can put up with BART. I'll tell you what the podcast picture is in a moment. But my lovely lady friend uses Uber a lot. And she yesterday got in a car with a guy. Here's the first thing. If the guy can't speak English, don't go with him. If you say hello and he goes, or he can't even say hello or hi or speak to you, get the hell out. Because you're going to have, if you have communication issues, then the rest can fall apart. Well, my lovely lady friend can speak Spanish, so she thinks that this guy can speak a little bit of Spanish. He can't even speak Spanish, which is, everybody speaks Spanish in California. It was once ruled by Spain. Basil knows this. It's so plain. So my lovely lady friend can speak Spanish. So she's partially communicating with this guy who is actually from Brazil. He speaks Portuguesa. And so he's driving and basically, okay, think of yourself going from point A to point B. Point B. Imagine point B in your head. Okay. Now, imagine instead of going from point A to point B, you go to Africa, or you go to Mars, or you go to Z, point Z. As far away from point B as possible. That's where she was going. Basically, she was supposed to go from Oxnard to Oakland. You can see where I grew up. Oxnard. She basically she might have wound up in Oxnard from Oakland. Oakland to Oxnard. Wouldn't that have been interesting? No, she went from Oakland all the way down to San Jose. She was on Highway 101. If you know the Bay Area at all. So somehow went all the way down 880. She's trying to get to Podcastro Valley, which is off 580, which is just south of Oakland, just next to San Leandro. Right next door. It should take less than 20 minutes. It takes an hour. She's down in frickin' San Jose because of this idiot driver. Okay, now she's a nice person, gives the benefit of the doubt to this guy. He couldn't speak English. Well, you know what? He shouldn't have been driving an Uber. that Uber is an awful, awful company that doesn't screen its people, doesn't weed its people out, lets anybody use it, anybody drive for it. You don't know what you're going to get. I know this lady that drives for Uber. She can hardly walk or see out of her Coke bottle glasses, and she drives for Uber. This lady, old lady. At one time, she drove over like the side of something while there were passengers in it. Drove over a sidewalk, like destroyed the bottom of her car. They get the worst people to drive for them for Uber. So my lovely lady friend ends up all the way in San Jose. She calls me at this point and goes, I'm in San Jose. I freak out. I'm like, what the, how? There is no way on earth you should be in San Jose now if you're just trying to get from Oakland to Podcaster Valley. How are you there? That's insane. Well, and this is another thing. My lovely lady friend has Netflix on her phone, and she's watching the new, what's that movie? Is it with Charlize Theron? No, with the boys. What was that one? $1 Million Baby. Not Haley Atwell. That's Sergeant Carter. Avengers person. That other one. It's that some new show on Netflix. So damn Netflix. I hate them. I hate Uber. So my lovely lady friend is watching this new thing on Netflix and doesn't even notice what's happening. So a couple things to keep in mind here and to learn from this awful experience. The guy dropped her off at the BART. She ended up using BART anyway. That's the crazy thing. The BART station in Warm Springs, which is very nice. The guy did drop her off there, and he did, in the broken Spanish that they were speaking in, was able to say to her, hey, we'll change because if you change the destination in Uber, they charge you even more. So he said to my lovely lady friend, hey, go ahead and change that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Oh. So she gets on the Warm Springs BART and ends up, I pick her up in Hayward, and that was the end of that adventure for her. Can you believe that? Frickin' Reed Hastings, CEO of Netflix. Your stupid shows are engrossing, and they suck people in. And what is that latest? I can't even see. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast on Podcaster Valley. Oh, Hillary Swank. Thank you. I Am Mother. That's what she was watching. Haley Atwell. I was close. All right, so something I watched on Netflix yesterday with my lovely... Yeah, so after all that, we watched Netflix. This is a commercial for Netflix. Ugh. Which started in 1997 by Reed Hastings. Imagine if you had invested in it then. What's it cost now? Really? It looks like it's $339 no kidding. So at its peak, it was at $342 a share. And now it's at $339. I think its lowest was... are we looking at this was just... Oh, interesting. It was like around $55 in June of 2014. And what's interesting about all of that is at one point, you remember that stupid mistake? Oh, you could have bought it for $8. In the beginning, it was $2. I don't know how these graphs work. But at one point, Netflix did this awful venture where they were trying to promote their DVD rental. And they said, all right, Netflix will be our streaming service, and then for DVDs, we'll call that Quickster. And they did that for all of about 2 months, and then they pulled that. Because people are like, why are you confusing everyone with two different names? So yeah, it shut. So now it's up to 340 or something, and it started off then. So yeah, you would have made some money, I guess. Hey! So we did watch this Netflix movie that I thought was going to be awful with Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston, and it's actually pretty funny. And the way they promote it on Netflix is it looks like it's going to be just a murder. I think it's called Murder Mystery. It looks like it's all taking place on a plane, but it doesn't. It goes all over these coastal cities in Europe, and it makes fun of murder mysteries and the hairdressers and French people and British people and I guess people from India. It makes fun of all kinds of people. It's a pretty funny movie. If you want a stupid, wonderful movie that's free, if you have Netflix, which costs you, what, $10 a month now or some stupid thing? Well, hey, yesterday I started talking about Kim Commando, and I didn't, which, by the way, isn't that a great, hey, Kim, how are you going to dress today? I'm going commando. Kim Commando, she had a thing, so I was talking about her computer radio show, and I forgot to mention that she also was talking on this computer TV show that I was watching about how your phone at night, while you're sleeping, is sending all this data from the apps. You downloaded probably a new app today, didn't you? Somebody said to you, you need to download an app, or you saw somewhere, get this app, it'll help you do this. And you thought, oh, that's fantastic. Well, every single app that you have on your phone is gathering your data and sends it. It harvests you. You get harvested. Your data gets harvested, and all that stuff you should get paid for, they're making money off of you. And that data is going off. Personal data that you probably don't want anyone else to know is going to all these companies, all these places around the world. And so that is happening in the middle of the night. And if you don't have your cell phone, your smartphone, Wi-Fi enabled, so that it's, just using the local Wi-Fi as you're receiving data and transmitting data. If instead you're just using your data plan, your cell phone tower, if your smartphone is just talking to your cell phone, that's data being used by your smartphone. And in the middle of the night, all this data is being used by your smartphone. It's being used up. So Kim had a couple of ideas. I guess you can go to her website if you want more information. I just gave her a little plug because I don't have it on my website. I'll tell you what's on my website, a podcast picture. And I'll tell you what that is in a moment. But yeah, so be aware of that. I would, at night, turn your phone on to the Wi-Fi connection so that you're connected to the local Wi-Fi. Sometimes people turn it off. I like to turn it off sometimes because it takes over my smartphone when I turn on the Wi-Fi, and if there's a local Wi-Fi that it wants to connect to that doesn't have any signal whatsoever, it jams my phone. My phone's trying to get information and it can't because it's tapped into it's connected to a false source. Like a lot of those Xfinity hotspots are useless, as you have probably discovered. So what ends up happening is I turn it off, but I forget sometimes to turn it on in the middle. Yeah, so that that means also that my apps are gathering information. I have very few apps. I have an old phone that doesn't allow me to use that much storage space. So every single app I put on my phone takes up space, and then I can't even use my phone anymore because there's not enough memory, not enough storage space for it to even operate. So I have deleted all these useless apps. People tell me, oh, you need this app on your phone. Yeah, no. Unless that app is paying me to put it on my phone, heck no. So I don't do that. Delete a lot of, I say, look out, be App Averse, and only use what you absolutely need. Hey, also in the settings to those apps that you can say what you the privacy settings, how much information it gets from you. Now, some of those apps won't work unless it has like every bit of it has access to all your data. In which case, you probably don't want that app. Okay, today's podcast picture. I didn't mention what it was. Let's go back to Half Moon Bay. A week ago, I went there with my lovely lady friend, and we got so many good pictures. And my lovely lady friend's phone is way better than mine, so I'm probably going to use a picture from her phone. But it's just such a beautiful... Ooh, I think we'll go with this one. Yes. Let's go with this one here of Half Moon Bay. You can see that picture now at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Hey, there's a couple people out here at Cafe Anyway. Let's say hi to them. Hi, Mike. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. Hi, how you doing?
It's a Disgruntled Fiddle Player. Tell you what.
What?
I don't trust Ocasio-Cortez. I think she's like a socialist.
Yeah, but she really hot. Yes, Benita, she's got that model kind of look to her. Like she could be an actress. She's 29, and she is from where my lovely lady friend is originally from, the Bronx. And apparently a trespasser was arrested yesterday in her office in Queens. He's 27 years old, this guy, holding a firearm. What? A firearm? Seriously? Oh, a fire extinguisher. Okay. While officers watched the man discharge the fire extinguisher in the building, he then fled into a utility closet armed with a broken bottle. Cops got him out, took him to Elmhurst Hospital for evaluation. Charges are pending against the man. His identity was not released. Ocasio-Cortez opened the office in March. It's upstairs from a deli and a home care agency. She'd hoped to take over the space used by her predecessor, Representative Joe Crowley, but when she found its rent was too high, she chose to build a new space in this other building. Oh, interesting. Well, there you go. Next show. Oh, we didn't say hi to this guy.
Hello, Mike. I make the delicious root beer. How's it right now? Okay.
Oh, that's what I need is some root beer. Oh, I got so stressed out last night because my job infringed on my Saturday night because, well, I got a text from someone at my job. I'm seriously thinking of just flushing my phone down the toilet on the weekends and then getting it back somehow. Because on the weekends, I really, really need some time to myself. It's all I'm asking, a little bit of time for myself so I don't go nuts. And yet I get a text at 9 o'clock last night, and that is not what I need. I need to watch stupid comedies. I need to be far the heck away from Ubers and goobers, and I need some time alone. I think that's what we all need. Everybody needs a little time away, I heard her say, from each other. Hey, that's a Chicago song. And Chicago was produced in the 80s by David Foster, a lot of their albums. David Foster was this famous producer who at one time got hit. Oh, he hit, who was that guy? The black actor. I can't think of his name at the moment. Oh, he accidentally hit somebody in Malibu. This was years ago. Because the guy was jogging, and he was a neighbor down the street. And he hit him, and he had to go to the hospital. Okay, so David Foster produced not only Chicago, but the Tubes. I mentioned this on my radio show today on KKDV, which I do Sunday mornings now from 6 to noon. 92.1 FM if you're in the Contra Costa area of the Bay Area. And so David Foster produced that, and he also produced a song, I Could Be a Man in Motion, All I Need Is a Pair of Wheels. He wrote that with John Parr. John Parr was this British singer who the only other big song he had was Naughty, Naughty, da-da-da-da, da-da-da, tease me, in the 80s. And I misspoke and said it was from 1985, Man in Motion, St. Elmo's Fire. But it was actually I said it 86 on the air. It was actually 85. But for some reason, I remember it. I thought it was number one around the same time as Take On Me by A-ha. I thought they were together. And there was some Boston song, Amanda. I thought they were all number one around the same time, but they weren't. Okay, so Man in Motion was actually the reason why it's called Man in Motion. All you need is a set of wheels. It was about the guy, I think his name was Rick Hansen. He was a famous wheelchair racer. He had a disability where he couldn't walk, so he used the wheelchair, and he got amazingly fast at it. And very inspirational. So even though the song was written for the movie, and they got a chunk of change for it, St. Elmo's Fire, the movie that Rob Lowe, he was all the rage back then before he became, what's he advertised now? That's the guy whose career went into the trash bin because there was a video that came out with him and another guy and an underage girl. I think she was underage. I think she was the daughter of a politician, too. I'm vaguely remembering all this. And this video, and this is back when it was VHS and no YouTube, but apparently the video made the rounds to different, I don't know, it got somehow duplicated, and people got copies of it. And there was this thing like, oh my gosh, there's a Rob Lowe sex tape. This is before the Pamela Anderson stuff and the Tommy Lee and everything else. So that killed his career for a while. And then he kind of recreated himself as a bad boy. And I think he did a movie called Bad Influence that started getting him noticed again. And then he would make fun of himself like he was in Wayne's World. And then he got in with those guys. And then he was on Parks and Rec, and you know the rest. And I saw him once at an AIDS walk in Ventura, back to Oxnard, Ventura. And him and the late Bill Paxton, they stood up on a park bench and they addressed everyone. They go, hey, thanks for coming out for this AIDS walk. And then off we walked. And they were talking to people. They were very, very accessible, nice people. So that's just a roundabout way of saying that's the end of the show. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley. Tell your friends about this show. Go to MikesDailyPodcast.com and you can find out how to help out the show and check out the podcast picture today. I will try to bring you, by the way, a new podcast. Hopefully, it will be somewhat daily this week. Last week, I got out of the frickin'... I got out of the habit of doing the show because a bunch of things happened. And I guess it partly has to do with having a full-time job. And this is not my full-time job, as you can imagine, because you don't make money podcasting unless you're Joe Rogan. But yeah, I will try my darndest to keep this show daily and do what you can by helping people find out about this show. And I hope you have a great day. Hang in there. And remember that Uber sucks.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.